Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to Words Have Power with Teresa Hawley-Howard. I'm so excited for our October summit. You will not be disappointed with this woman. I promise you, all of the women have been empowering, inspiring, and just really encouraging, and tonight will be no different. Welcome to the show and tell us all about yourself.
Hi, Teresa. Thank you. My name is Cheryl Sosnowski, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am an artist, and I am also a certified mindfulness meditation teacher. And I came up with a program that ties mindfulness to art for people like me who found when they were trying to practice formal meditation, sitting on a cushion, that it was basically a form of torture. So I came up with another alternate program that helps people who I say hate to meditate.
That is so funny because I just started meditation and I really was thinking it's probably not for me because as I sat there and I even tried to download the music, so that you'll be guided or whatever. It is pure torture to me. I think about 50 things that need to be done. I can hear the laundry waiting to be done. I know there are dishes in my sink. I'm pretty sure I could be more productive if I just called my grandkids. I mean, there are a million things. I never reach that silence. And I have friends that they'll put their pictures out there and they're in that perfect position and they're just so quiet in their eyes and they look, I am squirming nonstop and ready for that little timer to go off. And I only do 10 minutes. But that is the longest 10 minutes of the whole day. I mean, that's a long 10 minutes.
Yeah, it can be. And I remember when I was going through my training, I actually had to go to 10-day silent meditation retreats where you do nothing but meditate off and on all day between sitting and walking, but it's silent. You can't talk until they have a Q&A period. And when they finally had a Q&A period, I had the courage to actually raise my hand. And then the teacher selected me and I said, well, what do you do if you hate this? And everybody started laughing in the whole place because I know I could not be the only person who was thinking that. And even he started laughing and he said, you make that part of your mindfulness practice. You just observe how much you're not enjoying this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so silly. And so I did go through it. It is transformational when you get to that point where you can finally sit there and still your mind for however long you're able to do it. But for most people, you know what? They're not going to do it. They're not going to go and sit through that period and fight through it. And like you said, they're sitting there thinking about, oh my gosh, I have emails I need to check, especially if you're an entrepreneur, right? Because we have a billion things on our to-do lists every day. And so even 10 minutes and sitting there thinking, this is 10 minutes I could be using to check emails or follow up with this person or do a social media post or balance my checkbook or do whatever billion things that entrepreneurs need to do. It's really difficult. So there's a reason that all these mindfulness coloring books have came out, and I think they're great. And people ask me all the time, can I use that as a form of mindfulness practice? And the answer is yes, you can. Whatever you're paying your attention to and focusing on, you can use as a meditation practice. And mindfulness practice is really anytime that you're aware that you're being aware, you're being mindful. And so it's really about creating that space to allow that choice to enter your mind where your thoughts can slow down enough that you can notice what you're thinking so that you do have the power to start choosing to respond instead of react to everything around you.
I think that's so funny that you say you asked that question because I know as I've started mine and I've only been at it a week, so I'm just going to tell you it's been difficult. But I remind myself of Julia Roberts in the movie Eat, Love, Pray, when she's sitting there and 50 million things, and then she looks back at the clock and it's been a minute. That's the way I feel. I'm like, really? It's not even been a minute?
Yeah.
You're not even supposed to look, but I'll pick up the phone. Oh my gosh, it's only been a minute. And so I'm so thankful that you can do other things because I really like the idea of focusing on something and starting my day focused and all, but sitting on that pillow. And I even tried to go somewhere because we live at the lake. So I thought, well, I'm going to go down to the lake and I'm going to look out over the peaceful water. No, I was like, people need to pick their trash up over there. Well, that lady really needs to turn off her porch. I don't know what they're doing over there. I mean, I'll observe things, but there was nothing peaceful about it. I was not quiet in my mind with my eyes. For one thing, I found out in public, I was a little afraid to sit there for 10 minutes with my eyes closed. I thought, oh, it's a safe neighborhood, but I don't know if I want to sit here for 10 minutes with my eyes closed. But you just don't know. And I was thinking there's something wrong with me because I see all of my friends are loving it. They're like, oh, you can move, you can do this meditation, your day will start so well, you'll be so much more focused, you'll get so much more done. I actually was starting my day kind of irritated. I mean, because I was not enjoying it. I mean, I was just like, I got 10 whole minutes of this. Oh my God, is this over yet? I get up and make breakfast. I mean, I got up early for this. And so I'm so glad that I'm not alone, because I really did not think it was for me. So give us some alternatives that we can use for mindfulness and to get focused.
Well, so the whole point of meditation practice, so the difference between meditation and mindfulness. So meditation is a formal practice in which you are reining in your attention, and that's the whole purpose of it. So even, if you're not comfortable sitting on a cushion to meditate, you can actually do a walking meditation. So if you live by the lake house and you're walking around the lake, that you're really paying attention to one specific thing and trying to ground your focus and bring your focus back. Because what that is doing, it's actually a form of mental training, that you're training yourself to notice when your attention wanders away so that you can bring it back. So, and then that carries over into the rest of your day, so that if you sit down to do a task and you notice that, oh, shiny object syndrome, my phone just went off and now I'm going to check this text message, and then that just sent me off down this other rabbit hole of this, that you notice that you're doing that, and you can stop and you can bring your focused attention back to where it needs to be so that you can get something done. Because a focused hour of focused, concentrated work, you can get a lot done, more than you can in 8 hours of zigzagging and going all over the place where you're not really even getting anything accomplished. And what mindfulness is really, like I said before, my definition of it is that you are aware that you're aware. And so even if you are feeling aware, or if you're noticing that you're annoyed, right, that you're thinking like, why did that person do that? So then you just start to question your perception about it. That you notice that you're annoyed at this person and you think, I wonder if they're annoyed. No, obviously they're not annoyed. So I'm the only person annoyed. Therefore, I'm harming myself by casting this judgment onto this other person, what I think they should be doing. And you're causing your own world disharmony when in reality, they don't care a bit about what is going on over there. If they're leaving their sprinklers on in the middle of the day, which is something, my personal pet peeve, living in the desert. I'm like, why are they watering their lawn again? So, but that's me casting my judgment onto someone else, right? And so it's really about, reining in your attention. And so I can tell you this, no one enjoys formal meditation practice the first week that they're doing it. No one. Anyone who says that they sat down on a cushion and instantly fell into a meditative bliss is lying, or they're really, really, really special, because I don't know anybody that's the case. Yeah. So that's, it's my, I work with mindset a lot. And so it's really the foundation of creating any kind of mindset that you want to have, whether it's for success or creativity or a relationship mindset, having a good relationship, whatever it is, the foundation for creating a mindset that you want to have is mindfulness, because you need to be aware of what's going on within yourself and what you need to be in control of, and what are you reacting to instead of responding to. What is habitual in your life that you're just on autopilot, not thinking about it, when there are things that you could actually, in the beginning, it takes some concentrated effort to change things, but you can rewire your neural pathways in your brain, which drive your habits. So you can actually start to create positive, good habits to replace the negative, bad habits that you had before, which is so awesome.
I think that's so great, because, a lot of times, I know I started meditation for focus, because I'm an entrepreneur and I have things going, it's a one-woman show over here. I do have a team, but as far as what projects we pick, it's me, and then I outsource some things. But I found that I was distracted and I was just everywhere every day, and it was driving me insane. And so my friend was like, okay, start with meditation and then focus, so I started meditation, focused, make the list for the day, which I never said I'd make lists, because anyone who listens to the podcast knows my mom's OCD, and we grew up with list. We had list from, I believe I couldn't read yet, probably was stickers on that list. I mean, my mom probably had take a
Get a
bath.
list for your list.
Yeah, with all these stickers on the list, because I don't ever remember there not being a list. And I know I couldn't read my whole life, but I'm pretty sure we had a list our whole life. My sister and I both detest the list. But it's something from her that I should have probably paid better attention to, because my mom worked a lot of jobs and she raised my sister and I, and she always kept all the balls in the air. Nothing. And my mom is a perfectionist, so the house was spotless at all times. You could have come in. We could have had a 15-minute rule instead of the 5-second rule if you drop it on the floor, because the floor
Wow.
still smells
Oh my
like
gosh.
I mean, she's very neat freak. And but I never wanted to be that person. So then when I went into business for myself, I was like, oh, I'm just going to do things this way and that way. No, it don't work that way. If you don't have a list and you're not organized, and you don't have some kind of mindset that says we're going to get things done in an orderly fashion instead of pure chaos. And I thought I was very organized until I threw 4 kids into the mix the last 2 years, because my daughter came to live with me with her 4 kids. And when we threw those 4 kids up in this mess, I was just like, this is insane. And then I got organized, used to the 4 kids being here, and she moved out with them. And so then I had like gaps of time, because this was the time we drove to school. This was the time we did, and so you have to reset yourself. And so that's why I thought meditation and, using that for that would be a good thing, because if you can reset your mind and reset your habits and how you function, then you can be more productive in your business and life and relationships. But you have to learn to recognize, like, little things set me off. Like, my husband is the calmest person in the world. Y'all know that. Y'all have met him. He's just like, I don't know. He must be. I told him he sounds like he's sedated half the time, because he never reacts. And I mean, he never reacts. Our children could say something plumb crazy, do something totally off the wall, or the car could blow up in the driveway. And my husband would say, call the fire department and get the fire extinguisher. Just be calm, Sam Elliott voice. I'd be freaking out, running around. I'd be trying to remember if my laptop was still in there. All these things would go through my mind. Is it too close to the house? He's just like cool and collected. And so I thought, that's where I want to be. Some people are not wired that way, because I tried to react that way, but I am not wired that way. And that's where meditation came in, because my friend was like, well, if you start with meditation and then you make a mindset shift to be more, to not react, to just, take it in and then form your opinion, then form your words or whatever afterwards. Not everything is a dynamite moment. And so, but that's hard for someone to learn. And I come from abuse too, so it's hard for someone to learn not to be always on the offensive or always on the react button.
Absolutely.
And that's why meditation, and it has been hard. It's been 10 days, y'all. But I do notice a difference in the reflect button, in that moment when I know that I would have blown up before. I would have, not that I'm volatile, but that I would have been panicked, mode, like the internet going out, from this interview.
Right.
I would have been like freaking out. I'd have been down the road, getting a cell phone to work so I could call the internet people and yell. And I was just like, it's light in here. We're going to need to reschedule. It's going to be okay. And I just worked on another project.
There's nothing you don't have any control over the weather, right?
I mean, you could try. I don't know where I could live where we didn't have it. But you can't control that. But there would have been a time in my moments when I would have tried. I would have been like, is the weather real bad in town? Let's run to town real fast. It's a thunderstorm warning. It says take cover, but let's run to town and see how the weather is there. And so there would have been a time when that would have been my life. But I learned, as we grow older and as we get more knowledgeable and we learn more skills, that sometimes this mindset shift that we have to being more mindful of where we are in life, of what we're doing in life, of how we're acting, and how those skills are serving us. Because if they are no longer serving us, then it's time to shift.
Yeah. And I also come from a very abusive childhood, and I spent my much of my teenage years as a teenage runaway and then living in group homes. And so
Mhm.
I totally get that mindset that you are handed, right, from other people. And for me, it was that I'm not good enough, I'm worthless, I'm not attractive, I'm not smart enough. And the result of that was that in my early 20s, I did a lot of drugs to just keep myself numb. B, I drank a lot to keep myself numb. I ate a lot to keep myself numb. And I worked my butt off to keep myself numb. And I worked for a big Fortune 500 company. I was very fortunate in my, my job and my career and what I was able to do, and work my way up to management at such a young age. But I was so numbed out. And then I also found that when it came to relationships, I was attracting such dysfunctional men, which isn't surprising because I was dysfunctional. And I would also sabotage any good thing. If things started to get too good, I would be very self-sabotaging, whether it was in my relationship or even in my career. It happened a couple of times that I had these great opportunities that I'm like, oh, and it's not like it's a conscious thought, right? It's like, it's just it's a reflex. It's like it's a belief system that you're living from. And so it was when I started doing the work on myself before meditation, before mindfulness, but still started to dive into, reading self-help books and finally seeing a therapist and started to work through all of those issues. It's taken a long time to get to the point where I'm at now. And, now I feel like it's my job to work with disadvantaged teens. And I work with at-risk teens. Also, I volunteer in my community here in Phoenix. And just tell these teens, like, I get where you're at, but you have a choice and you don't have to waste. It's like you come from an abused or an impoverished background, but then you get to be an age where you're out on your own. And instead of somebody else keeping you in this tiny little reality, you keep yourself there. And it's just like the elephant, right? That you tie it to a chair or you tie it to something long enough that when you untie it, it doesn't go anywhere. And the same thing for a goldfish. It stays in an area the size of its bowl. If you dump a goldfish in a lake, it's just going to swim in a circle the size of its bowl. It doesn't realize it can go anywhere it wants to go. And the humans are very much that same way. And we live in our belief systems that oftentimes, most of the time, other people gave to us, and we don't take responsibility. And it's really about taking 100% responsibility for your own actions and your own behaviors and not blaming anybody else when you're an adult, because we live in especially if here in America, of all places, we are free to make choices and do whatever the heck we want as women. And so we don't have to keep ourselves in a place where we don't want to be, but we do because we fear moving out of that. It feels very uncomfortable. It feels very not normal. And I work with women all the time. And that's a lot of what the art practice is about too, is about diving into these areas of yourself and uncovering them, because a lot of times you don't even know what's going on. But once you do, you have a choice, right? And that's where I said, when you don't know better, you don't do anything better. But when you do start to become aware that what you're doing is a choice, then you start working to make different choices. And at first, just like meditation, just like anything, when you start to do it the first time, it's so uncomfortable and it's so fearful. And especially if you don't have mentors around you, or you don't have someone to talk to, but now I'm like, with the internet, there are groups everywhere of people who relate to each other and who are going through the same things. And you can find a mentor on the internet. You can find a therapist even online. They have teletherapy now. So it's just absolutely amazing the time that we're living in. And, I kind of get annoyed with all of this. I'm all about positive mindset, but I think that I'm able to have a very positive mindset because I'm hyper aware of my negative mindset. And even though I do notice, I am always hyper aware of my surroundings. Just like you said, I wouldn't feel safe sitting in a place with my eyes closed for 10 minutes. Neither would I. I would not even do that. But I'm aware that I wouldn't do it, and I'm aware of why I wouldn't do it. And so I can make the choice not to do it, right? But it's not a habitual reflex that I run around being afraid and reacting out of that fear space. Now I can say, is this a wise choice? And there's an exercise that I learned in mindfulness that I always teach people, and that's called real, but not, this is real, but is it true? So you question, your perceptions. And so you say, this is real because I'm experiencing this as real. And you notice when you start to experience a belief or a fear that you think is really happening to you, you start to get that physiological response, not just a thought. You start to feel it in your body. And so the way you can stop that is to say, okay, this is real because I'm experiencing it, but is it true? Is this actually happening, or am I just perceiving this to be what's happening? And what that does is it opens up a whole realm of, I don't know, it's my perception. And it invites conversations if it's a relationship with somebody else instead of conflicts. You don't jump to conclusions. And it's a really, really, really powerful exercise that I always encourage everybody who's living in this space of fear all the time to say, okay, this is real because I'm experiencing this right now, but is it true? And that way you're not negating your experience, but you're questioning your perception about the experience.
I think that's so powerful, because I know sometimes when you don't come from a ideal background, or, you know, a beautiful, we're not going to be singing The Sound of Music at our house, you know, those kind of, when you come from a background that's real and raw, sometimes you perceive things differently than other people do. And sometimes it can cause issues, not only in your relationships, but in your business. And so I think being mindful of that is very powerful, and learning to use that tool to really filter out what's going on for real, instead of what's going on because that's the way you think about it. Maybe they didn't need your services because it's not time for them. I remember when I used to offer my services, I'd be like, oh, they just want to write with somebody else. Sometimes you're not ready. You're not ready to share your story. You're not ready to write your book. You're not ready to do that. And then those same women would circle back in a year, 18 months, and say, oh, when I talked to you before, it's been on my mind. I kept your card or whatever. And so it took a while for me to realize that sometimes it's just them. It's not a right time in their life for your services. It's not always that they're rejecting you. They're just not ready for your services yet. But you have to be able to, filter that out. Well, tell our listeners one great tip that you have for them, and then how they can reach out to you.
One great tip. Well, I just gave one, which was the real but not true, which I practice myself all the time, even though now that I have a positive habitual mindset. But another one is just to breathe, because you'll notice a perfect exercise that you can do is to clench up your whole entire body, your face, everything, just clench it all up. And then notice how you breathe when you do that. And you're shallow breathing when you do something like that. And that is what happens to our body when we have the fight, flight, or freeze response, is that we automatically tense up, we aren't breathing. And the way that you can combat that feeling is to breathe deeply. And so it's to take 6 deep breaths for the count of 10. So I do 5 inhales in and 5 inhales out, and do it 6 times. And then you'll have done deep breathing for a minute. And it's amazing how much better your brain and your body will feel. It's a reset, because every time you go into the fight, flight, or freeze response, your body has to then reset itself back to normal, right? And so you're helping it to do it faster instead of staying in that state of panic or fear or whatever it is that's happening to you. So that's one, is just definitely deep breathing, always breathing, anytime that you're feeling upset, scared, fearful. And then the other thing is, if you are going to do something that's new, that you're afraid of, say, for me, I'm in sales. So as an entrepreneur, and I have to go talk to strange people all the time, and go into companies and talk to strange people all the time. And I always have that fearful, like, oh gosh, what if they reject me? What if they slam the door in my face? What if they throw a tomato at me? And so your brain doesn't know the difference between fear and excitement. So I will now say to myself, when I'm in the parking lot of a business and I'm about to go in, I'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this meeting. I'm so excited right now. I can feel how excited I am. And it changes flips your mindset from fearful to, oh, you're excited. Okay, that's what's going on. It changes your whole stance and your whole energy, because people read energy as much as they do body language or hear your words. And so that's another great tip that people can try. And everybody can find me at createspacestudio.com. And I have all kinds of free mindfulness resources on my website and creativity resources on my website, because those are the 2 things that I'm super passionate about. And then, of course, I have online classes that people can take as well.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing with us. As always, you did a wonderful job. I followed you for a while now, so I'm very excited to have you on here. And thank you so much for sharing with our listeners.
Thank you, Teresa. I'm honored to be here, and I love it if anybody is touched. That always means a lot to me.
And thank y'all for listening to Words Have Power. This is Teresa Hawley-Howard, your host. Remember, our words have power. Use them wisely. You can change the world with them.